the Pick-6 podcast, talking all things NFL.
Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Pick-6 podcast with me, Connor Shelton, and we've got Luke Jones again.
Hi guys.
So yes, this week we found out our two Super Bowl finalists. It started with 32, we're down to a final two. We only have one game of football left, and one of the best quarterbacks of all time retired. And I'm sad. A two-time Super Bowl champion, Big Ben Roethlisberger, retired. And this guy called Tom Brady did too. So yes, we've got a jam-packed... I haven't either, yeah. Why is he in my script? But we do have a jam-packed show to get through. We have a championship games to get through, which weren't as good as the divisional round. They never are, but there was still some awesome football. Joey B, the coolest quarterback in the league. His Bengals are roaring on. Matthew Stafford, 13 years he suffered in poor Detroit, 1 year in Star City, and he's hosting a Super Bowl. Yes, because the Super Bowl is playing at SoFi Stadium. But before all that, and before we look at the coaching carousel and all the people who are getting their jobs back, because there's never new coaches, Doug Peterson's back. Like, what? He's won a Super Bowl, yes, but he's a washed coach. Get someone new. Tom Brady, the 7-time Super Bowl champion, the 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 44 years old, has today announced his retirement. ESPN were reporting on the weekend that he was set to retire. And that news was just, what? Tom Brady? No, he's going to play forever. He said he wanted to play till 50. The guy threw for 5,500 yards this year. He's an MVP candidate. I mean, I think more worthy than Aaron Rodgers. But that's a story for a different day. Maybe he'll win it now because he's retired. But he was still in top form. He's not Big Ben, who I made a joke about, I'm sorry. But for the last 4 years, Big Ben has been pathetically bad. He should have retired a long time ago. This guy's on top of his game, on top of his body. The reason he's the GOAT. But today he's gone out on top. So Tom Brady is retired. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, obviously I was shocked at the weekend when it first came out, and then obviously we had them. He came out and was like, "Oh, I haven't made my decision yet." But we were talking. We were like, "Well, I'm pretty sure he is going to come out and confirm it," because he just looked like he was ready to go, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like the stuff he talked about on that podcast afterwards about him, the wanting to spend time with his family and his wife, and taking a toll on her. The biggest thing I thought was the thing that came out about Giselle was that she told Brady pretty much that she'd had enough of it now, and she's had enough of him getting hit and getting hurt and stuff like that, and she wants him to take a step back now. So I think that's been the biggest decision. I reckon he could probably go until he's 50, but I just reckon he's like, my wife's had 22 years of it now. I don't know if he's been with her for his whole career, but whatever. She's had quite a long time of dealing with it, and she's looked after him for so long. So maybe he's like, you know what, I can look after her now, and I'll step away from the game. He
wanted to make the decision. It wasn't ESPN's to leak. He was supposed to make that yesterday. Apparently, he was going to make the announcement yesterday on the podcast he has. I mean, it must be a very bad podcast. I found out this podcast been going for about 5 years. I never knew Tom Brady had a podcast. Like,
no,
the most famous footballer of all time has a podcast and no one knows about it. It must be bad. But yes, it's him and Larry Fitzgerald. Through the season, Tom's a bit busy, throwing balls and stuff. So Larry Fitzgerald does it. But in the off season,
I know they were good friends, weren't they? Because he was trying to get him for the Buccaneers because he wanted to get him a ring, didn't he? So he was trying to.
He wanted to get everyone a ring at the end. He was very charitable, Tom. But yeah, that decision was taken out of his hand, and that's why he was a bit miffed, to put it politely. He was going to make the announcement yesterday, and he's like, "Oh no, I don't think I've made my mind up yet." And then less than 24 hours later, he'd made his mind up, and he is retired. I mean, I don't think there's enough superlatives. There's not enough words. There's not enough time in this podcast. I wish we could have like a full episode just on Tom Brady, because there's so much to talk about. I mean, taking in the 6th round of the draft, this random guy in New England. I mean, I was just born. I was born in 99, and
I was one.
yeah, that's his 22-year career is as old as I am. I am 22, going 23 this year, which is that's like to have a guy be a baby when you drafted, and then to be talking about your retirement on a podcast. That shows you've been going for a bloody long time. And then yeah, he didn't. No one knew he was going to be a star. I mean, who does when you're a 6th round pick as a quarterback? Like, you want to be the first pick like Joey B, go to a Super Bowl. But no, this guy's 6th round, and he's won 7 Super Bowls. I mean, he is just inevitable. He's brilliant. He's the most controlled. You take Big Ben. Big Ben is the complete opposite. You know, in the off season, beers, party. You know, that's Big Ben. He loves it. You know, he still won 2 Super Bowls, and like Tom Brady said, he took a different method to him. But Tom Brady has been good all his career. Big Ben died about 5 years ago. Yeah. Just that control you must have for 22 years to live this rigid, structured lifestyle, which is the New England way, I guess. You know, up there in Boston, it's not party central like it is down in Tampa, where he did go, and he did loosen up towards the end. Like, I remember the Super Bowl celebrations last year where he was jumping into the sea, drunk as a fart. You know,
he's never really done that, has he?
No, like up in New England, your Super Bowl parade, you like, and the fans are like, yeah, but we want to do this next year. Come on, start work the day after that Super Bowl parade. You're not celebrating. Bill Belichick's like, we're back to work. He wouldn't let them rest. He wouldn't let them celebrate. And for 20 years, that must be to the dedication it takes. Like that, like I compare him to quite like Ronaldo more than someone else. You know, he lives this rigid lifestyle where he's training every day. You know, the stuff he eats, all that. Just that drive for 20 years in New England to live that such structured life, it must take such like dedication. I think someone tweeted, I can't remember who it was. It was a former football player. It was like, "Enjoy food, Tom," because Brady doesn't even eat the same food his wife and children eat. You know, they'll have McDonald's, let's say, but he won't have anything like that. So it must be so hard for that long.
I mean, he must. That must be his biggest challenge, though. Now he's trying to get out of that regime, because like obviously, like if you do something for a year you get used to it, but for doing it for 22 years, like it's what you know. So I think this next 6 months, when it gets around to the camps and the mini camps and stuff like that, and he's not going to come in, I think that's when he's going to feel it. He's going to be fine now because he's used to the off season.
Oh yeah,
he's used to switching off. He'll be fine now. But it's when it gets to like June, July, August time, when they're in full practice and stuff, and then he's just like, oh yeah, that's not me. I think that's when it'll hit him. I think he's happy now. He's great. It's like, oh yes, I'm retired. I'm free. But then when he starts seeing all these players, Patriots put a picture on, or the Buccaneers put a picture on it, like, all these players arriving back, and he's there at home. You know, I think he's going to be. I think that's when it's going to hit him, and you might see him. I think you might see him we might see him in coaching. I don't think we're going to see him as like a head coach. I can't see him going that way.
See, I was just about to bring that up. I don't see him involved in football in any capacity. He's not going to be a Tony Romo who goes into broadcasting, you know, who's brilliant at that. He's not going to be a coach or anything like that, a head coach, I don't think. I think he's got too much. The best players rarely ever go back into that sport. They have all the other business adventures. They've given it. They're all 22 years. They're burnt out, and they're almost too good for that. You know, the best players, the best coaches are never really the best players in any sport. I've noticed, especially the NFL and football or soccer. The best players are never the best managers or coaches, and he's got all these other business adventures, which he talks about in his statement. Weirdly enough,
what thought interesting about that was 9 slides, not one mention about Belichick, the Patriots, or the Patriots fans.
I was literally about to. I was about to speak about that. But yes,
how many years did he spend with them? What, 19 years?
20 years. Obviously, he did write that beautiful letter when he did leave New England, and since then, the Pats have tweeted, you know, a big like letter thanking him. And he's put, "Love to all Pat's family, can't wait to see you soon," or something along them lines. But yeah, I did find that strange. Like, and that's the thing, you know, Belichick's not the nicest person. I can only compare. I'm sorry to keep doing this, comparing it to football, but obviously Belichick's a bit like Sir Alex Ferguson. But Sir Alex Ferguson, he is driven as passionate he was for winning trophies. He wasn't as cold, I don't think, as Belichick. and your Ronaldo, your Cantona, your best ever players. Ferguson always welcomed them back with warm embraces. Ronaldo and Ferguson still when Ronaldo rejoined United. But I don't see that with Brady and Belichick. When Brady gets inducted into the Hall of Fame as the best player ever, as the GOAT, Belichick won't be there giving a speech for him. He would, towards the end, obviously, he wanted Jimmy G. He wanted Brady gone. And it was Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England, who was like, no, we're keeping Brady. And they won, 2 more Super Bowls after Jimmy G left?
Yeah.
And got to 3 Super Bowls.
And you look at Jimmy G now and you think, was that a touch of brilliance from Kraft?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's probably just trying to keep Brady happy, but maybe Kraft's a football genius that we didn't know, and he's figured out what Garoppolo's ceiling was and realised that it's not even up to Brady's waist.
As brilliant as Brady was with his 7 Super Bowls, all the touchdowns ever, all the passing yards, everything, 22 years of it, it wasn't without scandal. Of course, I remember my first year as a football fan was Deflategate in the FC Championship, where they smashed the Indianapolis Colts. Do you think that tarnishes him a bit, or because it's Tom Brady, his personal life compared to other very famous people, your Big Bengs, was very quiet, he had that structured life, he never did anything out of order in his personal life. Do you think Deflategate just gets left behind in all this and we just appreciate the greatness and we'll never really talk about it when we think back of Tom Brady?
I can see it being mentioned as one of them things, but like he's only got that one thing. There's nothing else he's done. Like it's just that. So you've got all his good and then just that one bad. I just don't think it's gonna really make a difference.
Yeah,
like one bad year, one bad scandal in a 22-year career, like it'd be very, very harsh to keep going on about that, because like he's won properly. He's come back afterwards, everyone's forgot about it, and he's gone on and won like five more rings or whatever, or 4 more rings since then. So it's one of them things that's always going to be talked about. It's in football history. Time something happened, but I don't think it's ever going to hold him that. Like, first ballot Hall of Fame is not even a question. When 2027 comes around, he's in there. Like,
I think we should move the time forward just for him, because he should have his own thing. Like, I'm a rival fan, and you're a rival fan of the Seahawks. I'm of the Cowboys. He went a perfect 6-0 against my Cowboys in his career. Obviously, he has the one Super Bowl victory, not thanks to him, but thanks to some dodgy call playing and some dodgy football from your Seahawks. Sorry to bring that up. But yeah, that for the pick of the end zone. That was my first ever Super Bowl. Weirdly enough, I watched. So yeah,
that was my first very painful one.
I wish I could even have a painful Super Bowl. But now he's retired. I supported him. I actually liked him. He let go a bit. He loosened up, like I said. He became a bit more fun, a bit more this and that.
Yeah, he's very much more likeable, wasn't he?
I guess that robotic thing like New England, like everyone's like New England. Boston's a very strict, rigid place. Belichick's there to keep you in check. And AB's like the party coach. He loves it. He's very loose. He's fun. And Tampa, Florida, party central for all the people in America going down there for spring break, stuff like that. He definitely loosened up in these last 2 years, and it was fun to see. A different side to Tom Brady. Now he's retired. We don't have to ever watch him in a Super Bowl again or beat our teams. Can you do you admire him now more than obviously when he was playing?
I mean, I always admired him, but I also bloody hated him.
Oh yeah, I rooted against him in every Super Bowl except the one against the Eagles in 2017-18 when the Eagles won it. That was the only one I wanted him to win. Yeah,
but I mean, I've always admired him. Obviously, he's great, but yeah, I can admire him a lot more now that he's not standing in our team's ways or anything. Because it always, like, not to sound stupid, but it got boring, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because you always knew he'd be there. And then this year was a nice surprise for him to be knocked out. And I guess it could be weird. It could be very weird, because he's the last of the big group now. Like, obviously, I've grown up watching it, and so he's the last. You got like Rivers, you got Big Ben, you got Breeze, you got the 2 Manning brothers, and then him, he's the last one of that like core group of like that generation.
Yeah, and obviously we got this. We're going to talk about a new group in a second. And picking you up on that
so he's
point,
like the last one of that, and I just think like now it's just like a change of the guard now, isn't it? I know that was happening anyway because you got Mahmoes going through, you got Allen, you've got you got Dak, you've got Russell Wilson. Could argue he's been in here quite a while.
Yeah. He's part of the Rodgers era. Yeah, he's part of that Rodgers era.
He's still kind of the new generation because he's still a mobile quarterback. He's not the stand in the pocket passer ones anymore, is he? And there's not very many of them left anymore.
But yeah, obviously we've talked about Big Ben. He didn't go on a high. Phillip Rivers didn't go out on a high. Drew Brees, he was about to dip, I think, so he went out this good time. And as much as Peyton Manning was carried to that last Super Bowl, he literally rode out on a big white horse, like into the sunset, like literally. I love that. But Brady, like I said before, 5,500 yards, 43 touchdowns. I think first or second most in the NFL this year. He could have kept on playing. He's gone out at the top of his game almost,
Because even 75% of Brady is still a top 10 quarterback, isn't it? So
probably top 3.
Yeah, exactly. So it's obviously it's not like the Roethlisberger. Like Roethlisberger, he's not had the love for it for the last 4 or 5 years, but now because of he was dipping, he was like going down, but now he's down so much that
I had to.
He's been forced out.
Yeah.
He might have been playing a bit longer because he's a bit younger, isn't he, than Brady?
Yeah, he's only 39, 40.
Yeah, so you could argue that he has started a few more years in him, but he was more battered and bruised. He wasn't protected well during his career, and obviously he's not looked after his body either. So, his body is a 40-year-old body, whereas Brady's is not.
So that was all about the GOAT, Tom Brady, who's retired after 22 seasons, 7 Super Bowls, and a gazillion touchdowns. He's the GOAT. I can say it now. I didn't like to say it before, but he's the GOAT of American sports. Just don't do what Michael Jordan did, come out of retirement to play for some random team like the Wizards, like he did for the Wizards. Just don't tarnish it, Tom. Stay retired. Don't care if you miss it. Stay retired.
Yeah, don't go playing baseball for a bit.
So, we're going to talk about the current crop of quality quarterbacks, and one who might win their first Super Bowls. I mean, it's going to be a first Super Bowl for either of them, but we're going to start in Kansas City, where the Kansas City Chiefs were 3 for 3 on touchdowns on their first 3 drives, 21-3 up. It was 21-10, final drive just before half. They were in the red zone after a pass interference, which I didn't think was a pass interference, but it was at the 1-yard line. 15 seconds left, 13 seconds left.
Yeah,
do you remember 13 seconds again?
Yeah.
13 seconds last week. Patrick Mahomes went on a bad drive, got them down the field goal to go to overtime. This time, oh boy,
couldn't get him a yard.
That, we had a bet, obviously. I think I was more annoyed. I was in our group chat. I was like, what's he doing here when he threw that backwards pass? Back down the line to Hill, who had tried to run past about 2 players to get a touchdown with 5 seconds left, and they didn't get any points because we needed a field goal from them for our bet.
Yeah.
So I was more annoyed at that, and I remember tweeting.
We had that in the back of our mind, didn't we? It was like, because it was such good odds, so we both put £5 on it, didn't we? We were just like, because it was happening, it was just happening so well. They both scored a touchdown. Bengals got a field goal. All we needed was Kansas just to be stopped and have to force because that was the only way they was going to shoot a field goal, is they were forced. Because they're always going to go for the touchdown, aren't they? But I just don't know what that thinking was behind that play. I just really don't.
And I was
looking at it. Because that run was obviously literally 13 seconds left of the first half. So the Chiefs had that possession, and then they had another possession straight after halftime because they had the ball. So I was thinking, touchdown here, touchdown straight after, because they've gone 3 for 3. They're not going to be stopped.
So that would have been 35-10.
We didn't know what was going to happen, did we?
No.
And I'm thinking, 30? There'll be 35-10 up. Bengals are not going to really do much there, are they?
But of course, they could have had an extra timeout. But when Andy Reid threw a challenge flag for a play where they got a first down, he also weirdly called a timeout. And I've made fun of Mike McCarthy's bad play clock calling on this podcast a few times. I think every episode so far, actually, 3 for 3. But Andy Reid, I'm like, what are you doing there? Like, why are you calling a timeout and then challenging? Did he mean to call a timeout?
The challenge would automatically bring one anyway.
So he wasted a timeout, so they only had 2. So if they'd had 3, they could have easily got fit in who were playing. But whether it was Pat Mahomes or the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, who called that, or Andy Reid, whoever approved that play, I just don't know what he was thinking. To leave with nothing after, like, I think they had between the 15-yard line and the 1-yard line, they had about 6 attempts, and they did not score a single point in 15-20 seconds. It was just really poor play, and that seemed to get in the head. Because in that first half, I thought Joe Burrow and Cincinnati were very safe, Joe Burrow, there was always running on first down. Like, Joe Burrow's this explosive quarterback who can get, you've got Jamar Chase, you've got Higgins, the tight end, who was, when they did go aggressive, Higgins was a player of the game for me. I remember the first half, even though they didn't get any points off it, he made like a 30-yard play, and they started getting going slowly. But it was frustrating to watch Cincinnati in that first half because they were slow, they was conservative. Something you don't really associate Cincinnati with this season. More of Cincinnati of old, that boring old Cincinnati with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. But they got hope from that, I think. That big stop to hold the Chiefs to 0 points, going at halftime 21-10. They got belief from that. And they came out in the second half. Pat Mahomes, let me just get this, I tweeted this. In 7 drives, they got 1 field goal, and that was at the end of the game. In the second half, the Bengals defense held him to 77 yards and picked him off twice. You don't hold Pat Mahomes to 77 yards often. Last week, he got 177 in the final 2 minutes of the game. He got 100 more yards in the final 2 minutes of the game, and he got an entire half this week. But I don't think, as good as the Bengals defense were, and they was brilliant in that second half, they didn't seem at the races at all in that first half. Eli Apple, he was having a nightmare with Hill. I mean, most quarterbacks do. But in that second half, they were on it. But I think it's as much credit you can give to the Bengals. Mahomes got in his head. It does happen. It was in his NFL report. I saw this in an American chat show host. I think it was Colin Cowherd. Read his thing. He's a bit hot-headed. This was the report when he got drafted. Makes rash decisions. Always trying to look for that big play. And we do see that at times with Pat Mahomes. Even now, as great as he is, he's the best quarterback in the league. He does have them moments of madness, and sometimes he gets in his head and he gets frustrated, and it just went all wrong for him in that second half. I've never seen. If there's a quarterback, if there's 2 quarterbacks, I can always bet, or I would always bet, like Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, calm. They're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to win. They just not go into meltdown 21-10 up against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah,
but he did.
And it's like because obviously like when you watch Joe Burrows, like Burrows didn't look like nervous per se, because he doesn't look like the type of person who would be nervous, but like because he didn't have much time on the ball and he wasn't moving out of the pocket, he had to make rash decisions. But Mahomes, even when like Hubbard and Hendrickson were trying to get through and they were trying to have a bit more success and they were closing in, he would just step out the pocket and he'd go through all these transitions. So like he'd have 5 receivers like in running routes, and rather than, and like obviously everyone always has that number 1 receiver that they want to go to. Like, so most of the time it's Hill, so he's the route you want to go to. But he would go, Hill's not worked out, Kelsey's not worked out. Oh, I'll go over here to Hardman. And it's like he goes through his progressions really well. And then since that half time, he just stopped doing his progressions thing and was just like, I've messed up here. I need to do something magical. I need to just force it. And it was just like, you don't, because you've had so much success in the first half through the play call. And I think it was part of Chiefs melting down, Mahomes melting down. I think Andy Reid flustering a bit, which I'm quite surprised at, really, because he's very, very experienced player. He's done it with the Eagles. He's done it with the Chiefs. You wouldn't expect that from him. But then I think whatever that defensive coordinator and the defensive backs coach and stuff said to them at halftime, because they came out absolutely firing.
They had something up their
they're going to be gassed. Because, you've got, obviously we're going to talk about the other game, but San Francisco have got 7 defensive linemen who can rotate out. I think Bengals have got 5. So there's always one of them who's going to be playing quite a lot of the game. And they just looked so gassed. And then he just came out and he just found the second win. But I'm guessing that's what seeing the Super Bowl right there can do to somebody. It can make you... So, they got 3.5 sacks in the second half, didn't they? Other than Hendrickson. So, they found something.
They didn't get any in that first half at all. And to say how bad, obviously, we talked about this last week. A lot of people have the Bengals don't have the best O-line.
No.
And it was broken quite a few times, and Burrow was under a lot of pressure. He I think it was in the third quarter, where he moved his legs, somehow didn't go down. It was one of the better plays of the game, I thought. He escaped the pocket. There was about 3...
that 2 times, didn't he?
There was 3 or 4 guys on him, and I was like, what? This is something Josh Allen does, or Kyler Murray does, or Russell Wilson does. This isn't something I've seen from Joe Burrow. And he said after the game, people doubt my legs, and they shouldn't. He's been compared to Tom Brady, fittingly, on the day Tom Brady retires will come. And they haven't got the arm of Mahomes, or the snazziness of Mahomes, or the legs of Allen. He's just a cool, good quarterback. He's more of an old-fashioned throwback type of quarterback, where he's just he's good mechanically. He'll get you wins, and wow.
But it's like everyone's calling him Joe Cool, which is obviously Joe Montana's nickname, and you can see that in him. And I know there's not much for that in the NFL lately, but the Bengals are making it work. He's not slow either. I mean, when he uses his legs, he's not got Allen's pace or Mahomes' pace, but he's not slow. He's not like when Tom Brady tries to take off.
I remember, I think it was last year, Tom Brady finally got 1,000 rushing yards, and then the next play he lost it because he tried to rush and he rushed for a -1 yard. I don't know if he ever got back over 1,000, but he did
probably
lose a bit
did
of
at some
pace.
point.
But Joe Burrow, he's made Cincinnati cool. He's made Ohio cool.
I know, he's done what LeBron did somehow.
Ohio is not a cool place. I only know this from How I Met Your Mother. I'm not an expert in America, but Ted Mosby's from Ohio. It's just a boring place. He even describes it. And then obviously LeBron goes and wins some championship with the Cavaliers. It's a cool place. When he leaves. Yeah. And Cleveland and the Bengals are both a joke. I mean, they've been terrible football teams for a long time. I just find it so cool that this one guy, number 1 pick, the first ever number 1 pick of the draft, to get to a Super Bowl in his second year, or first or second year. And
he's also the first to. He's also the first to win his college. The college championship.
Yeah.
I'm not college football fan, so I don't know. National championship, or whatever. And then first round draft, and then second year.
And to come back from that horrific ACL in such quick time, and it's an amazing story. And of course, it went to overtime, and I think this is even more amazing. The Chiefs won the toss. They were celebrating like they won it, because when the Chiefs win a toss, they should win. They've got a great offense, and I think Josh Allen tweeted pain when the Chiefs won the toss. It must have brought back some horrible memories. He must be thinking, I was hoping your Joe Burrow picture like Josh Allen was like this. Sorry if you're listening to the audio version. That wouldn't have made sense. But Mahomes couldn't get out of his head again. He just was flustered still. And surely over a half and then into overtime, someone should have been there to try to calm him down. But they just couldn't. And he threw an unnecessary pick. I mean, it was a very poor pass. He's thrown a lot of bad picks this year. There's no such thing as a good pick, as a quarterback, but there is very bad ones, and that was a bad one. He's thrown a lot of them this year, a lot of them early on. He cleaned his game up, and he was on fire again. And then here came Joe Burrow to lead his team down into field. Obviously, the got some good field advantage, and then on came, guess we got the Super Bowl, McPherson to kick a rookie kicker who was in high school 3-4 years ago. He's made 4 for 4 in 3 straight playoff games. 2 of them are wingers, walk-off wings, and one's kicked to a Super Bowl. I mean, it's just crazy. Cincinnati have not been to a Super Bowl in near on 30 years. 34 years it's been. I saw a great tweet by the Franchise Podcast, and he's like, we were saying, "Oh, what age were you when they last won a Super Bowl?" And we're -10 and -11 years old. Like, that's how long it's been.
It's like, I was interested. We've not heard anything, but I'd love it if McPherson actually said it to Burrows as he went out again. Oh, looks like we're going to the Super Bowl.
I'd love it.
And I just don't think he jinxed himself. I didn't want to jinx himself again or something, did he? So
there was a great picture after the game of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow's dad with a big cigar.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Like Joe Burrow, I love that quote. Like, sometimes it can be perceived as arrogance, but he was just joking about he had some like diamonds on after like a chain or something after the game. And he was like, "I get paid too much money for these to be fake." And he just exudes confidence. Like, he just doesn't seem. He's actually from Ohio as well. I only realised this. I only learnt this yesterday. He's a local guy, which is even cooler to a story, I think. He's just so cool. He's a much throwback quarterback, with his cigars. I could never imagine like Pat Mahmoes with a cigar or a big pint of something. I bet like Joe Burrow, I can just imagine him lying down in his bed, after winning a Super Bowl, big pint of beer and a cigar, and he's loving life. He's just a cool dude. And the Bengals
I just think Mahmoes is a bit too much about the sponsors, isn't he?
Again, he buys into his own hype at times, I think. He does have these capitulations. It happens a lot. And sometimes he buys into his own hype. He's doing his no-look passes. There wasn't anything like that in this game. That first half was the perfect Pat Mahomes up until that last drive. 3 for 3. Some of the first 2 touchdowns, the one to Hill, the one to Kelsey, were brilliant drives and brilliant throws. And they did look unstoppable. And the Bengals, at halftime, Zach Taylor, people have had their doubts about him before Burrow, which is always a concern, I think, when a quarterback has to make you good, as a good coach. If you're questioned before, and if your quarterback goes down injured, you're in a bit of trouble because you're not a great coach. But Zach Taylor's in a Super Bowl. He beat Andy Reid, Andy Reid's conference record, it's not great. In conference championships, I think he's won 3 out of like 8. He can get you there. Whether he can get you over the hump to a Super Bowl is another question.
Yeah.
But the whole Chiefs just seemed to choke. And it was from a local TV station, and they tweeted something like, "No one ever expected us to be here. We was written off. We just, I just went like, you've been the favourite in every game you've played this year. Yeah. People act like everyone's backing you to win this Super Bowl. Who didn't expect you to be here just because you had a bad loss against? Yeah, you were 4-4 at one point. But everyone's like, they'll come good and they'll be in the Super Bowl. Like Brady used to do that. Slow starts, fast finishes. Like, I just thought that's just some guys going off the rails, like, because he's sad he didn't get to a Super Bowl. Dan Hansis of the Around the NFL podcast said something brilliant. He was like, it's even better, or it makes that tweet look good if you just imagine it is wrote by an idiot. Which made me chuckle. It made a lot of sense then, yeah. But yeah, the Bengals, for the first time in 34 years, I beg your pardon, are going to the Super Bowl. They completely deserved it. They've been amazing this year to watch. Joe Burrow, and they've got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, McPherson, Higgins, all on rookie contracts for like 4 or 5 years. So
they'll be pretty good. Could be the start of a dynasty. They saw that O-line out.
Yeah, but that's what you got to have some cap money to spend on the O-line. If you can get an O-line like the Dallas O-line had a few years ago, or the Rams O-line, or how there's a few good O-lines out there, and Cleveland have got a brilliant O-line. I'm sure you can tempt some people over from Cleveland now, with the better quarterback and the better team.
An interesting thing came out this week about Burrows was that in the 2020 draft, when he was drafted, the Dolphins offered 3 first-round picks for him.
Wow.
to take the pick, obviously to take the first round pick from the Bengals, they offered 3 first round picks for him, and obviously they turned it down, and Dolphins had to get Tua. But like, imagine what the Bengals be now without Burrow. So,
and Miami, they missed out on Justin Herbert.
Yeah, exactly. They could have took him.
Ooh, got hurt to be a Dolphins fan, as it always does. We have an update on their coaching soon. So, who will the Bengals play in Super Bowl 56? We'll get onto them in a second. And we are back. We're going to be talking the Bengals Super Bowl opponents. In the previous 54 Super Bowls before last year, there'd been never a team to host a Super Bowl. It happened last year with Tom Brady's Buccaneers. It was so close a few years ago with Minnesota when they had the Minneapolis Miracle against the Saints, but they didn't achieve it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers became the first team in Super Bowl 55 to play in a Super Bowl at their home stadium. And after 55 years waiting, it's like a London bus. You've waited for all that time for one, another one comes, and just a year later. That does sound like a bus actually waiting a year. But the LA Rams will be hosting. They're put down as the away team for this game, which makes me think, are they going to be in the away dressing room? But they will be back at SoFi Stadium. Let's hope they haven't done that thing where what teams do, where they make the away dressing room really crap and stuff. Because that'll backfire on them, won't it?
Yeah, it will do. Yeah.
Just like one little bed in the middle, not enough space for a big Aaron Donald. He just takes up the room.
Yeah.
But I actually think they have as well. Where it's like I've heard about this actually. They've got like this really long one, and then it turns around the corner, so all the players can't sit in one area. I mean, it has backfired on them now.
That could be, that could be a big factor.
But they will be playing the Bengals at SoFi Stadium next Sunday, the 13th of February, for Super Bowl 56. They beat the San Francisco 49ers 2017. They came back from 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter to win. They were 17-7 down going into that, and they came out winners with 2 good field goals and a touchdown. So yes, Jimmy G. Let's talk about the 49ers first. Kyle Shanahan likes blowing up leads, doesn't he? Super Bowl against the Chiefs, Super Bowl 54. He had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. The Chiefs won. He had an even bigger lead as the Atlanta Falcons head coach offensive coordinator, I beg your pardon, against Tom Brady's Patriots, 28-3. He lost that, and once again, he lost. He just. I went to bed actually. I've rewatched the game since, but I went to bed with the 49ers winning, and I thought, oh yeah, they've got to see this game through, and Stafford, it could have all been over when Stafford throws that deep ball down the field, open. The defender's open, no one around him. He just drops the ball. If he picks that, the game's over for me. They just ground and pound the 49ers, and they're going to win because Stafford, he wasn't having it his own way up until that fourth quarter. The 49ers defense were doing a good job on him. I mean, to limit the star-studded Rams to 7 points in 3 quarters, you're doing something right.
Well, it's Stafford throughout that game. The offensive play call environment, was very big play, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it seemed like they were in that first drive, and they had it to, I can't remember the receiver, but he was only a rookie receiver, and there was Cup that was dead wide, that was open to the right, and then he just threw it right into the end zone for this rookie receiver, and it's just like, why are they going for that from there? And then he. Obviously, the Rams did make their own problems, like McVay again not being able to handle his timeouts and things like that, because he threw 2 challenge flags, didn't he?
Yeah.
And lost them both, didn't he? So he lost 2 touchdowns in the second half when you need them. You're gonna need them when he gets down to the nitty gritty of the fourth quarter, aren't you? You don't know how much time you're gonna get to have that last drive. And I was just thinking, old problems of the Rams, what happened a couple of years ago when they were in the Super Bowl is just he's not learned from it and he's coming back. But they found something. But obviously they had Jared Goff then, didn't they? And Jared Goff, if things aren't going well for him, then that it's going to continue to not go well for him. But having Stafford, having that expertise of having him there, has obviously allowed them to come back, and he's took the team on his back. Interestingly, he was the most intercepted QB in the regular season, but he's got a 6-to-1 touchdown interception ratio in the postseason.
I think that just comes from a bit of Stafford being a bit sloppy. Obviously,
yeah.
a new team, new players to build up rapport with. He's obviously, him and Cooper Kupp have taken to a duck to water.
Yeah, dynamic duo them.
Yeah, they are. You think of quarterback and wide receiver relationships. I think if they win a Super Bowl this year, they could be right up there. Your Rodgers, Adams drops down. Them two, Jamar Chase, Burrow. These two are like this. But obviously, it had to then build up one with OBJ, who is a very particular wide receiver who fell out with his quarterback in Cleveland because of not having that good relationship, not being targeted. So you get to target him a lot. And I question that move. But, I mean, the guy's just earned $750,000 for helping his team into a Super Bowl. He earned $1 million the week before, I think, or something crazy like that. He's walking a lot of money into the Super Bowl, but he's earned it all. He's been great for the Rams. We said it last week. I'll say it this week. I'm loving OBJ. And another player I'm loving, who's another free who was signed, who Denver are actually paying him his contract still. Like, they're paying him to play for the Rams in a Super Bowl. Von Miller, which I want the Rams guys who negotiate these deals. Like, I want someone to pay me for doing something else. Like, give me his number. Can you pay me to do this?
It's like the Super Bowl's one of them, isn't it? The Super Bowl is the team who's relied on the draft and has got a really good team out of the draft, and then another team who have basically said, we don't want draft picks, we'll give you all of them away just for you to give us that established player.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And these draft picks are proving worthwhile now. I mean, Stafford, they gave up a lot for him. 13 seasons, 13 miserable years in Detroit for Matthew Stafford, you would say. They're never on prime time. They're on prime time once a year on Thanksgiving, that Thursday. They're always playing on that prime time game. But the Dallas Cowboys would always overshadow them that day. And it's just, he's now reached one Super Bowl in one season. The Lions have never reached a Super Bowl ever. He's proving he's a good quarterback, and a lot of people probably have missed on that. Like, I've slept on him, compared to other quarterbacks, just because when you're in Detroit, it's just poor, and you accept, getting into the playoffs. 3 times I think he's got into the playoffs, but he's underdogging every playoff game he's played. He's come to a good team now. They've invested heavily in that O-line. They've invested heavily in weapons for him, and he's showing everyone what a great quarterback he is. Yeah, he got picked a lot in the season, but in the playoffs he's been clutch. Like, he's a clutch player. Obviously, the first game, who did we play? The Cardinals game, like Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford. I mean, it was complete. He dominated that Cardinals team. He was throwing. I think he got over 300 yards. The clutch play against Tom Brady's Buccaneers, he was playing well. It wasn't his fault his receivers were fumbling, or the fumble snap where he wasn't even ready. That was his teammates' fault. He led his team on that drive in the last second, got them into field goal. They're in the NFC Championship. He did the same this week. He kept going. That last quarter, he turned it on. He became a clutch quarterback. And they could have won by more if Matthew Gay was a better kicker. He's missed another kick this week. It was about 47 yards, I think, again. He missed a 42-yarder last week, 47 yards this week. And when McPherson's kicking 52 and 53 easily, like, you're not even worried. That must be a worry going to the Super Bowl. But the Rams, that defensive line, if I'm Joe Burrow, I'm looking at my offensive line very nervously, because he's not getting protection against them, is he? your Donalds, your Von Millers, they're getting after him. If he got sacked 9 times against the Tennessee Titans, he's going to get sacked at least 12 in the Super Bowl if he doesn't get them legs moving like a Scooby-Doo character. You ever like run on the spot and the legs twirl about? He needs to get going out of that pocket. Or
I think it's going to be a lot of run-pass option plays, isn't it? It's going to be a lot of getting out of the pocket and not allowing the ball just to crush in on you, basically. I have got a question for you, though. If Stafford gets his ring, is he a Hall of Famer? For you, is he if you're on that ballot or you're on that judges panel decide, and they put Stafford in front of you, they say you have 13 seasons with Detroit, you've gone to Rams, won a ring, is he a Hall of Famer?
No, I just don't think he'll have to have a really good back end of his career at the LA Rams. He'll need you look what I'll give you an example. It might be a bit unfair. Joe Burrow went to a terrible team. He's taken them to the Super Bowl. We do complain about the Rams. He's unfortunate. He was put in a bad situation. Some quarterbacks are. Most
quarterbacks are, aren't they?
Yeah, he stayed at.
You only get the first round draft pick if you're bad.
Yeah. Or if some teams do just have a bad season every now and then. The 49ers did last season. They got the 4th pick. I think they traded up a bit. But he stayed in Detroit too long. He should have been out of there 6 years ago. He should have been demanding a trade. He should have been a bit more selfish. Maybe that's why he's a likeable character, actually, Stafford. He had a great interview with Michael Irving on Fox or ESPN, whichever one he works for. It was a really nice interview before the Buccaneers game. And he's a likeable guy. He's probably a nice guy. And he was a bit too selfless. If he was selfish 5-6 years ago and demanding back trade somewhere, he'd have been picked up easily by a good team, and thank God he has been picked up by a good team, because now we can all watch how good he is. He'll be leading his team out. Let's move on though. Congratulations to the Rams getting back to their 2nd Super Bowl in 4 years. Let's hope it's better than the last Super Bowl they were involved in, because it was a terrible one. The 49ers, they don't have a brilliant quarterback, and Jimmy G might have played his last game for the San Francisco 49ers. If they've had Matthew Stafford, if we swap the quarterbacks around, San Francisco are in the Super Bowl, because you can only get so far without relying on your quarterback. Carrying your quarterback. The quarterback's supposed to carry you. That's he's the leader of your football team. He's the leader of your organisation. He's supposed to carry you. He's supposed to instill you with confidence, like most quarterbacks do. And Jimmy G, the last time I got to the Super Bowl, in the NFC Championship game against Green Bay, I looked this up. He threw 6 times, completed 4.
Yeah.
You can't do that again. He got away with it in Green Bay because of the weather conditions. Both quarterbacks had a bad game. The weather wasn't ideal for passing. He made some clutch plays the week before Dallas, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 15. But there's only so far that can take you away your run offense, or this is in the modern day NFL. You've got to have a quarterback you can rely on, and Jimmy G just wasn't that. And that interception, yes, it was 3rd and 10. If he'd taken a sack, it was 4th and 20, basically his own goal line. But to be put in that situation to throw like that, it was just terrible. And he gave the Rams the win in the end. So where do you think? Because he won't be in San Francisco. Let's be clear. They didn't want him there this season. They wanted to trade him in the off season last year. Have Trey Lance be their starter. They started integrating. It was very weird. They started integrating him in, putting him in the red zone, and then about week 8, he just didn't feature again. It was Jimmy G all the way. But where do you see Jimmy G's future this off season?
I can see a team getting a team who needs a quarterback, maybe getting desperate towards the end of the off season.
Do you think it'll go that far? Wow.
Pardon?
You think it'll go that late into the off season? Not in the first few weeks, a bit like the Stafford deal?
I don't know. Is it a bit of, is the some head coaches who like Garoppolo, is some that not like. Did they not look at it like we are? You know, we're seeing it as he's not a starting QB. He's just not good enough to be one. He's shown that he can be. Like obviously Belichick saw something in him because he wanted him to be Brady's successor. But I just think the injuries have just not allowed him to get back to it.
Sorry, his record as a starter is 35 or 45 to like 16, 17, 35 to 18 as a starter in San Francisco, which pretty good record.
That's a lot of the team though. The team that have helped him. He's never got the team on his back and then like carried them to the victory. I don't think he's ever done that. I don't think he's got that in him. But yeah, so if he does get, I mean, I don't know how many years. Is he a free agent this year or not? I'm not too sure.
No, he's got a good deal left.
Yeah, so I can't see a team coming in and saying, we'll give you a first round draft pick or we'll give you this for him. I can't see that. So the only way I can see him being with another team is if San Francisco turn around and he's not got a big cap hit and they release him. Because I can't see a team giving up stuff for him because I just think there's a lot better options out there. I mean, Trey Lance doesn't look like they're not treating him like he's the successor to Garoppolo. Like, he had that bad game against the Packers where they scraped out and they got the win, but he didn't have a great game. Obviously, the weather was a factor. Rodgers didn't have a great game, and you'd expect Rodgers to have a great game no matter what. But like they were the way he was struggling in the championship game. If you really believed in Trey Lance, wouldn't you have just put him in?
That's a great point. But I will run through some teams. I'll be playing devil's advocate here. I'll run through a few teams. We even put out a poll today. I'll grab that up. Asking where do you think Jimmy G will be, and I'm going to give my opinion in a second, but I will give you the votes. So, we asked, where do you think Jimmy G will end up this offseason? We have the Panthers, the Saints, Bucks, or the other. The other to me is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So basically, Panthers, Saints, Bucks, or Steelers. And surprisingly, the Bucks got 50% of the votes. People will think the heir of Tom Brady, the replacement for Tom Brady in New England, will be the replacement of Tom Brady in Tampa, which I think is interesting. The Panthers, I mean, it's a step up on Sam Darnold. I thought he was just in a bad situation in the New York with the Jets, but he's just not a very good quarterback, it turns out. I was wrong on him. Yeah. The Saints, they've got cap problems upon cap problems. You get stick with that rookie quarterback. You're in a bit of a mess now. Sean Payton has left when the building's on fire, and he's just got out laughing. The Bucks, we'll talk about that in a second, but my personal opinion would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I mean they're on about giving the Rudolph and the other guy, I don't even know what the other guy's called, Rudolph and
Hodges, isn't it?
Yeah, a chance this year
for Hodges.
For the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. No. Pittsburgh, you've got a good defense. Do not waste that defense with a terrible quarterback again. I mean, even worse than Big Ben at 40 years old with a beer belly and broken arms or whatever. Yeah, if you do not waste. If you'd say that to me,
if you say that to me, would you take Rudolph and Hodges or give Garoppolo a shot? Then obviously I'd be snapping your hand off to have Garoppolo, because Rudolph.
That's one that makes more sense to me.
I can't see the route. Like Hodges was decent when he came in. Like I saw a few games and he looked all right. He looks like a second string quarterback. Does he look like thingy for the Jaguars? What's his name for the Jaguars? The backup for the Jaguars.
Oh, the backup.
Pardon?
Backup.
Yeah. Not Lawrence. There was the one who stepped in the year before they drafted Lawrence. Dark. Stumbling me now.
Were you on about the guy with the long hair, mustache?
Yeah.
Oh, he's at the Eagles now. What's he called? Minshew, Guy Minshew.
Yeah, Minshew. Yeah. So him, like, you know how he was a good second. Like, he was never going to be a first choice, but he stepped up and was good when he needed, and that's what Hodges did. He was good when he was needed, but Rudolph's never looked good at all.
and the racism allegations with Rudolph is not a good look. So,
no.
I mean, that's why I think the best place for him to go is Pittsburgh. He's a decent quarterback. He won't cost you a lot like a Russell Wilson, or your big time quarterbacks. He probably won't even command like a big wage. He won't be on a big wage. You'll have space for him. He'll work for Pittsburgh, I think.
Yeah, he probably could. Yeah, you probably could. Probably right there, to be fair.
But another option,
I'd probably be looking to try and get him.
Obviously, people think the Bucks, which I think is interesting and also a bit funny, how the Tom Brady heir will replace Tom Brady in a different place. It's funny how life works that way. I'd like to see that, actually. I just don't see that happening. I think they'll do something stupid now, like they'll probably end up getting Jameis Winston back to throw another 700 picks or something, because I think Tampa made a deal with the devil to have Tom Brady, to have Bruce Arians. That deal's done, and now you're going back to being at the bottom of hell and being rubbish for the next 20 years again.
Well, that's the thing. The Buccaneers are very much, their team's made to win now. They're not a winning 5 years. Like, they've not got a young team. They've got a very old team. So if they don't go out and get a good replacement for Brady that can even keep them like at that level, like obviously not Brady level, but keep them just below it, to even give him a chance with a good, if Bruce Arians decides to stay around, and obviously he's a great coach, so he could get them back up there. But without the, so they would have to need to go for someone who's going like Garoppolo or something like that. They can't draft someone, because I know there's no one in the draft that's like, the draft's being talked about as being a good QB class. So there's not going to be some, and obviously they're not going to have a good pick anyway. So they are going to have to go and try and get someone who's, out of the ones who are offering, he's probably your best option, isn't he? You're going to have to give up too much to get some of the others. Like, say Rodgers went on the trade block, you'd have to give up a lot to get him, and you wouldn't have half the weapons you have now.
And so I'll just throw one more name. I'll throw one more name in the hat before we move on to the coaching carousel, and then we wrap up. The coaching highs have gone crazy this last week. Washington, they have Tyler Heineke, undrafted. I mean, the guy, I didn't realise he was at all, but to be called up, he's done well. I mean, he battled Tom Brady in the playoffs last year valiantly. But if Washington want to make any strides in the NFC East, to knock Dallas, who look like they could dominate for the next few years if everyone stays healthy, which like they've promised to do for the last few years. Jimmy G would be a good one for Ron Vieira. In Washington, what do you make of that one?
Too sure, to be honest. I mean, Taylor Heineke is good, but I don't know. Are Washington, like, have they even got really that good of a team? I mean,
yeah, they've got a good defense.
They've got that lightning quick, ride receiver, Scary Terry, and then they've got obviously that great pass rusher they drafted really highly. But apart from that, have they?
Yeah, would Jimmy G want to go there? Yeah, because obviously it's the decision.
Jimmy G probably wants to go to someone where they've got, like, they're ready to win now. He's been around the block quite a while, Jimmy G. So he wants to win, doesn't he? He's going to want a ring. He's going to want that opportunity, and I don't think that the Washington are going to offer that to him. It'd be a good place for him to go, because he'd obviously had Ron Rivera. He's a great coach, and he'd be able to coach him up. But then he's had a great coach already. He had Belichick. He's had Shanahan. He had Shanahan. He's not the coach. He's not like he's had a bad coach. He's been in the best situations you can be in, and he's still not producing the best, or what he was promised to have produced. And I can see someone taking him on, but I can't see him getting the best out of him. I really can't. I'm not convinced on Garoppolo at all. Really not.
So yeah, the 49ers, another season without a Super Bowl ring. One of the best teams ever, one of the best franchises ever. Have been to a Super Bowl, been to a lot of NFC championships actually over the last decade. Probably, I think, the most in the NFC, maybe tied with the Packers for the most. So they keep coming back no matter who's the quarterback. Kaepernick, you've got Garoppolo. So I mean, no offense to both of them, not terrific quarterbacks. So if Trey Lance is a good quarterback, they've always got a good team, and they'll be back. And they're in the highest division in football, like we talked about last week, with your Seahawks, with the Rams now. It's a tough division. The Cardinals with Murray, and they somehow keep coming back. So I expect them to see them again very soon with Trey Lance. But it is the end of Jimmy G. At the same time, it is the end for Tom Brady. Again, ironic, but I'd love to see that Buccaneers move. So now let's move on to some coaching updates before we wrap up, because obviously this week's a Pro Bowl, but I'm not a 6-year-old who's going to watch it on Nickelodeon. It's just a big fanfare thing, you know. Give the other guys a week off before the Super Bowl. We're not going to be previewing it. I probably won't even watch it, so don't expect to hear much about it. We will be previewing the Super Bowl next week in a big extravaganza show, and we might even have like a little show Sunday night before the Super Bowl, like a little live stream thing on Twitter. So stick around for that. But now, coaching. There's been quite a few changes. Josh McDaniels is finally, after 10 years or something, getting a second chance, like a big gap between his first job and this job. He failed in Denver. He got absolutely blown out in a lot of places when he was at Denver. He's crawled back to New England to be their offensive coordinator again. He's interviewed for so many jobs over the last 10 years, probably. I've lost count of how many jobs he's interviewed for. But the Raiders got a new GM, which was like a guy inside the Patriots front office. He's like, Josh McDaniels, you're coming with me. He's the new Las Vegas Raiders coach. What? Yeah, I find it strange to have such a long gap off head coaching. I love the soft, safe environment of New England where you're protected by Bill Belichick, where you're always winning. It must be nice, but I mean, these coaches coming out of Belichick, they never work, and he didn't work last time. He's got a big decision. Derek Carr might not stay around, so it's a weird one. It's going to be a big rebuild probably in Las Vegas again, and coming out of the John Gruden crap, it's going to be hard for him.
Yeah, it's like 2 years ago when he got the Colts job, and now he's got the Raiders, because he obviously got the Colts job, didn't he? And then he decided to resign and go back to the Patriots.
Yeah,
and I just think, and I think the Colts was a better option for him, and I don't know why 2 years has made him finally make that jump. Obviously, he's a great offensive coordinator, and I'm glad he's getting a second chance, because he might be like really great as a head coach, but that being going to the Broncos was a bit too early for him. He's had like 8 more years with Belichick to hone his skills and pick up more of his thing. But I hope he doesn't do what every other Belichick like coaching tree person has done, where they've gone to the team and then they've just brought in a load of Patriots guys and basically just tried to recreate the Patriots with something else. Like Flores did it with Dolphins. He's just brought in. He tried to bring in a load. Like he actually signed Patriot players who were available in free agency.
And apparently, Flores wasn't great to work with. Like the sort of like where you deal in New England, where you've got Bill Belichick and this environment where it's all structured. You can have them heated discussions. In these more like free places, Miami, it's more relaxed. Las Vegas, I mean, it's Sin City. There's nothing more like opposite to Boston than Las Vegas. So you've got to sort of adapt to the situation and environment you're in. You can't have that New England Patriots way. Yes, take some of them values into your football team, but you've got to change. This is not New England. This is Las Vegas, where there is I mean, unfortunately, there's been some horrible problems for the Raiders, while being, 2 fatalities this season, and obviously with John Gruden stuff. Like, it's not New England where there's not going to be a lot of news. It's just all about football. You got to have distractions, and you need to know how to handle them stuff. And I don't think you get much practice of that in how to deal with people nicely. You saw we talked about how Tom Brady changed when he went to Tampa. He embraced that city. You got to do that when you leave New England, because it's completely different.
Yeah, because obviously how do you keep people disciplined when you've got a whole strip of casinos and nightlife? It's going to be quite hard. It's going to be quite a tough test for Josh McDaniels to like try and keep them like structured. I mean, the football players, they should be able to do it, but you know, I'm looking forward to the second chance. But what I was thinking before is, are they a full rebuild, or are they just like a couple of bits? Because some are in the camp of Derek Carr is a good quarterback, he can take you to the Super Bowl, and then there's a lot of them where they're like, no, I need to move on from Derek Carr. So I'm interested to see what Josh McDaniels makes of him, whether he gets rid of him or whether he decides, oh, you know what, Carr's the one for me, and we can go from there. Because obviously they had to get rid of. Obviously Henry Ruggs was released, wasn't he? And he looked really good as a draft choice for them. And I just think they're going to need a couple of bits, and they could challenge now, but it's whether they're going to be able to get them bits and whether it's going to be a full rebuild or not.
A quarterback, we've discussed how hard they are to get. I mean, if they do move off Derek Carr, it's like, who do they get? Because they haven't got a good draft choice. There's not a draft class this year in QB. No. So, I mean, do they get dragged into the Jimmy G thing? Josh McDaniels clearly worked with him.
Yeah, he could want him, couldn't he?
Yeah. We never go move off this Jimmy G topic. We're going to talk about it forever. But yeah, it's another one to watch. The New York Giants, they got their man. They got the Bills OC. I'll get his name up.
Brian Dable.
I think that's a really good move. I mean, he's not moving very far. You know, Bills, Buffalo to New York. It's a short
stay in the same house, can't
he? It's a good move for him. He's getting a head coaching role. Obviously, an ethnic coach as well. After we lost quite a few, sadly. So the NFL still keeps that sort of Rooney Rule going, which might be a talking in some places, but it's good to have some. And he's a good offensive coordinator. I mean, the stuff he did for Allen. But it's that thing of like, when you work with someone so good, to go work with Dan Jones, can you reproduce that stuff? I mean, Jason Garrett, he got fired from the New York Giants. I mean, he worked with Dak Prescott before that. And Dak Prescott is a level above Dan Jones, and he struggled to help that offense. You know, many coaches have failed. I mean, the Carolina Panthers hired Ben McAdoo as a rock star offensive coordinator. He couldn't work with Dan Jones in his first year, and then he's gone through Joe Judge. He's on season 4 now for Dan Jones, and he throws picks like Jameis Winston. It's going to be a struggle. I mean, this is his final chance. Like, if he doesn't work this year,
contract year now, isn't it?
Yeah, so if it doesn't work this year, mate, you're not getting a new contract. Trust me. It's not the coach anymore. This guy's worked with Josh Allen and made him a superstar. If he can't make you one, that's on you. You're just not a good quarterback. So that's why it's going to be make and break for him. Once again, it's out of the quarterback, just like with Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas. If he can keep if Saquon Barkley can keep fit, he's got to have a good run game. I think it's good that obviously the Bills' former assistant GM is now the New York Giants GM as well. So it's all changed there. So maybe they'll have an upturn in form. The Saints, they interviewed Brian Flores for the second time. So it looks like he might be getting that job, which he'll be coming in straight from Miami. He'll be walking into a hot burning mess, which he sort of did when he walked into Miami. But a $70 million cap hit. No real good quarterbacks. Michael Thomas on his way out. Will they have to get rid of Alvin Kamara? That is a complete rebuilding New Orleans, isn't it?
Yeah, you're gonna have to. It's gonna be like obviously half their team are gonna be on the trade block, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's whether teams take them. So it could be a time. It could be a chance where they have to keep all of these players, but also trying to build up draft picks, because obviously they need rookie contracts now. They've got basically what they are now is how the Rams are going to be in a few years, when when all these players like that they've signed are going to be asking for another extension, and they're not going to be able to not got the funds to give it them, and that's what the Saints are at now. They've offered all these extensions, and it's come round to paying it, and they've not won.
Yeah, they was in a win now situation with a 38-year-old Drew Brees, which probably wasn't a smart decision.
They could have done arguably, and then I'm a big fan of Taysom Hill. Like, out and out quarterback, maybe not, but he's got all these other weapons. He's like Deebo Samuel for 49ers, but obviously Deebo Samuel's a hell of a lot better than him. But I thought rather than give Jameis Winston a chance, I'd give Taysom Hill a chance.
Oh yeah, he performed admirably throughout that season. I mean, he could have carried them to not the Super Bowl, the playoffs if the 49ers had lost to that Rams on that week 18. They'd have been in the playoffs, which is quite crazy.
Yeah.
Considering all the injuries and all the craziness that went on in that season. So yeah, it looks like Brian Flores might become the New Orleans head coach, which is good for him. He's a good head coach. Miami was
good
just a
at
clash of heads.
Teams.
Yeah, it was a clash of heads in Miami. That probably what happened in New Orleans. I'm just going to go through a few of these very fast so we can wrap up. We've been talking for quite a while now. Minnesota, they've got a few guys coming back. The 49ers defensive coordinator, though, has rejected a second interview. He wants to stay and learn his trade a bit more, maybe looking for a better job next summer. Who knows? I mean, Dan Quinn did the same. And
I mean, the Vikings are interviewing
Jim Harbaugh,
aren't they?
Which is an interesting one. They're on their second round of head coaching. We just flying Jim Harbaugh again, which makes me think he's their number one choice. If that interview goes well, all the others will be said thank you, but bye bye, Jim. He's our new head coach, and he will.
I'd say they're the best landing spot out of all the positions.
Yeah,
that
the
are
ones
open.
left. Yeah, the ones left now.
Yeah,
they were probably the best landing spot to begin with anyway. Like the best situation. I mean, Kirk Cousins is good. Can get you in the playoffs. Good weapons. I mean, Cook the running back. When he's on it, he's unstoppable. They're probably in the best situation. And if they get Jim Harbaugh, they've probably got the best coach in that division. Because I don't think... So who's in that division? You've got Green Bay with Matt LaFleur. He's a bit of a choker. Yeah. Chicago, they've got a new head coach with a defensive coordinator from... he was from Indianapolis, wasn't he? And the final team, and the final team, the Lions with Dan Campbell, who's a passionate guy. But if Jim Harbaugh walks into that division, I think he's the best head coach, most experienced.
He's done it with Michigan, hasn't he? So. And
he did it with the 49ers with Colin Kaepernick. So yeah, I think that'd be a great move. And finally, the Jaguars. They're interviewing, and the Dolphins, they've got Kellen Moore coming back, so he could be on the move from Dallas. And Doug Peterson, he's interviewing for the Jaguars. Not the best coach, I don't think. He's a Super Bowl winner, so what do I know? And he won't with a backup. But is he the best coach to nurture and make Trevor Lawrence brilliant?
Well, he made Carson Wentz look good, so...
Yeah, he made Carson Wentz look decent. Decent enough that the Colts came in for him and want to trade him off. So yeah, he's a good salesman. Get him in your front office. But yeah, that's all the coaching. Like I said, we will be back next week for some Super Bowl previews. There'll be some short clips going up over the week with some news, probably on the head coaching again, so just keep out. I just want to say a big thank you to you all for this first week of YouTube and all the social medias. We've got so many views, so much support. On TikTok, we've got about 1,500 views on our tips and for the weekend. YouTube, we have about 1,500. So we have about 3.4k views overall on everything. And then obviously our listeners on Spotify and Acast. Thank you for that. We've got some snazzy new graphics if you were seeing, if you've been watching this visual version of the Pick-6 podcast. I designed them. I like the white background much better. But that has been the Pick-6 podcast for this week. We will be back next week twice because it's Super Bowl week and we're just so excited. We can't believe it's the final week of the 2021 season though. But a big thank you to Luke. A big congrats to the LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. Until next week.
much.
We will see you then. Bye.
See you later, guys.